welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn, and the final part of 2099 month. Over the last few weeks, we've seen a good reinvention of an old character, a bad reinvention of an old character, a villain who may or may not be the original character, but in a futuristic setting. But what about an original character in this universe who wasn't based on any old idea? Well, thank goodness we have Ravage 2099 for that. Don't know why the hell we bothered with the name 2099 bit with him, considering there wasn't a modern-day Ravage character in the Marvel Universe until 1998, but whatever. Maybe it's like the Nintendo 64, where we shove the number 64 at the end of every game. So yeah, we've got ourselves a bright new character. And it's considered one of the worst comics ever made, to the point where I have been getting requests to do this since the show began. It's not helped by who wrote the book, Stan Lee. You know, it's funny. I've gotten comments that insulted me for daring to make fun of or criticize Frank Miller. How dare I besmirch the good name of Frank goddamn Batman out of my way sperm bank, this is Sparta Miller, since he has done so much for the industry and all that jazz. And yet, whenever I make fun of Stan Lee, nobody is rushing to call me names, insult my views, or otherwise attempt to denigrate me as a critic and human being, despite the fact that Stan Lee has had just as much, if not more of an impact on superhero comics as Frankie Boy. And let's not get into an argument about who created what characters or who owns what. Stan Lee still had a major impact in creating a lot of mainstream, or at least well-known, Marvel characters in its stable. What's amusing to me, though, is that Frank Miller and Stan Lee are kind of similar in a twisted sort of way. They both used to be good writers, but are not anymore. Here's the difference. Frank Miller's writing tends to reflect his political and social views, though he had more restraint back in the 80s and early 90s. Stan Lee's writing reflected writing styles of the 1960s, and he's never really changed from that. As a result, Frank Miller's writing gets worse and more offensive with each new thing he releases, whereas Stan Lee's work gets stupid, but very amusingly stupid. For example, superheroes based around NHL teams, a pop star superheroine, the Backstreet Boys as superheroes. Who wants to be a superhero? And, of course, Ravage 2099. So let's dig into the first issue and see how bad it really is.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazons and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Our cover does not show much promise for our new hero. Foil edges, of course, but Ravage himself, yikes. His outfit is overcomplicated, with random patches on parts of it, a belt around his thigh, lots of padding in places. There appear to be gears on his front, which, given there are no other gears near them, it appears to be an aesthetic choice versus any actual function. Steampunk! You're doing it wrong! There's a chain going across his torso and then under his armpit, and apparently a belt of thorns. Basically, a costume shop and a sporting goods store collapsed on top of him, and he had to crawl through both to end up like this. It's not helped by the toothy sneer he has and the huge impractical gun he's firing. Even if Stan Lee was creating good characters into the 90s, this is still basically a generic gun-toting dumbass based on this image with a typical overly aggressive tagline. Might as well have called the dude Blood Gun 2099. Dude! Blood Gun 2099 is getting his 5th movie back in my time! We open in a city alley where a guy is being chased by 2 flying pods. Polluter! Halt and submit! An eco patrol! They found me! My god! Captain Planet finally snapped and has taken over the world! Terror has many attributes. It can be sudden. It can be swift. It can be deadly. It can be yours with 10 easy payments of $19.95. Can't let them get me. Not now, when they know what I've done. Dude, you whizzed in an alleyway. If this is New York, I expect 5 other homeless guys in the alley were doing the same thing. The guy runs into the sewer to try to evade the eco patrols, but apparently the Environmental Protection Enforces see nothing wrong with blasting through the roof of a sewer, floating on Spock's rocket boots from Star Trek V, and shooting a guy to death in said sewer. Let this be a lesson, kids. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. Or we'll kill you. The Eco Patrol phones in that they've killed the guy and summon a disposal unit. Within seconds, a grim, dreaded eco-haulage van hovers over the now silent site. Evidently, garbage trucks of the future are very menacing. Is it just me, or do these members of the Eco Patrol look like Aaron Stack, the Machine Man? If these guys start drinking and killing zombies, this comic might actually turn out really good. After stating that the threat has been nullified, we cut to Eco Central, where our main character is berating the Eco Patrol for not taking him alive. Subject offered resistance. We had no choice. And I guess that's the end of that conversation, since the panel below it instead has him talking to his secretary or whatever. It's happening too often, Tiana. The polluters are silenced before they can be questioned. I must have one alive to lead us to the higher-ups. Wait a second. There's seriously an organized group with a hierarchy dedicated to polluting things? Are they fighting that organization from Brute Force number 3 that wanted to pollute the world and turn everyone into mutant fish people? Also like the Air Zone solution? In fact, why the hell do I keep running into this? Why is this a thing? Actually, here's the really weird part. I mentioned Captain Planet earlier, and oddly enough, this guy in charge of the Eco Patrol, he looks exactly like Loot and Plunder from Captain Planet. I guess at some point he switched sides in the conflict and instead became an ecological dictator. The guy's actual name is Paul Philippe, though for simplicity's sake we'll call him Paul. His secretary, or whatever, warns him not to tread on dangerous ground. So long as Eco Central is under my command, I tread where I please. Sir, don't walk on that lava! I tread where I please. Oh god, it burns! He says he's going to alert Alchemax of the traitors in their midst. So Eco Central is owned by Alchemax? And she tells him not to, telling of how her own father tried to warn Alchemax, and that just got him arrested by the police. That was the last I saw of him. Within hours, he was on an eco-naval transport, headed for Hell Rock. It's not as bad as you'd think. There was just a slip-up in the marketing department. Hell Rock's name was supposed to be Mr. Happy's Fun Time Amusement Park, but they were too cheap to fix the signs. An innocent man condemned to life among the monstrous Mutroids. There's no way of knowing if he's dead or alive. If that was the last you saw of him, why are there flashback panels of him arriving on Hell Rock's beach? Not even the commander of Eco Central is safe from the power of Alchemax. You're wrong, Tiana. No man is sent to Hell Rock without good reason. Obviously, your father was a filthy, polluting communist. If we can't trust the system, if we can't trust Alchemax, then we revert back to anarchy! Yep, corporations or anarchy. Those are the only 2 options. And hey, Alchemax seems pretty on the level. It's not like they try to drug their employees, mutate humans into puddles of goo, bail out murderous psychopaths, or hire hitmen for leaders of foreign nations. Also, check it out. Apparently the symbol for the Eco Patrol is a peace sign. Because nothing says peace more like gunning down citizens. Tiana tells Paul that Alchemax put him there as a figurehead and they won't hesitate to get rid of him if he starts suspecting them. He says he won't hear any more, and end of conversation. Things are very abrupt in this comic. Sometime later, Paul is walking home when he's assaulted by 3 guys with stupid sunglasses and guns. Hey, look what we got! We got us a pigeon, that's what! Oh neat! A gun that shoots pigeons! Future weapons technology is spiffy. Back off! I've no time to mess with juveniles! This is how human beings talk, right? You young fools! I'm the ranking agent of Eco! I could handle a dozen like you before breakfast! Being the CEO of an environmental agency means that I know Kung Fu! No, seriously, the dude just beats them all up while holding this conversation and doesn't even flinch or anything. Like a boss. But if I ever catch you threatening innocent people again... Yeah, look who's talking! What makes a killer like you so innocent? Hold it! What did you mean by that remark? By Jove, I sure am a ranking agent in the future. Hark! What words did spring forth from thine lips? It was my father that you goons murdered in that sewer today. Say it straight. He was a polluter, which means it was perfectly okay to kill him. And he wouldn't surrender. That shows what you know. Actually, he explicitly stated that they wouldn't take him alive. So yeah, he does know. Maybe my pa wasn't no saint, but he sure wasn't no polluter either. I'm assuming that in the future, double negatives are okay. Dude, of course they are! No way that it won't be okay to not speak in no double negatives! He found out who was behind most of the pollution, and he was headed for Eco Central to let you know. What pollution, where, and what kind? This comic seems to be under the impression that pollution is just some kind of element or something in and of itself, and not a descriptor for things that happen to the environment. That's why you had him killed, 'cause you're one of them. You're wrong. I never gave that order, but since I've heard your story, I'm going to check it out. So he won't believe his trusted secretary that he has the hots for, he admits it later on, but some random kid assaults him and he believes him without a second word. He takes the kid named Dak with him to Alchemax headquarters, where his clearly evil boss named Anderthorpe Henton, seriously, is trying to pick out which of the 3 holographic women before him he's going to have VR sex with. His choices are a night elf, a fairy, or Tigra from the mainstream Marvel universe. It's a good thing this panel existed. I wouldn't have believed that he was evil without the fan service. Ravage! What brings you here, Commander? A matter of some urgency, Mr. Henton, and I prefer the name Paul Philippe. Ravage sounds a bit too brutal for my taste. His name is literally Ravage? Look, I may have been wrong last week about Tiger Wild's last name, but come on! Really, Stan? Really? If you're not even gonna try, just name him Hero Von Good Guy and don't waste our time. So, Ravage tells Henton that Dax... Everybody has weird names in this comic. Dak's father was murdered because he was going to identify people in Alchemax who were helping the polluters. I really do not get this. Alchemax owns an organization designed to stop pollution and polluters, so they undermine that business for what exactly? If this was all just a PR stunt, why did you assign anyone who gave a damn about their job? We'll be right back, you Slifer slackers. And now we're back. I love this outfit. That's the most shocking thing I've heard. If there's the slightest shred of truth to your accusation, I'll move heaven and earth to punish the ones responsible. You have my word on that, Commander, and you too, young man. I'm grateful to you for bringing me this information. I'll contact you as soon as my investigation is complete. Thank you, Mr. Henton. I knew I could count on you.
I instantly believe you.
Sir Gull of Bull.
Hey! Henton's assistant wonders if there may be some truth to the kid's story. There's always that possibility, Borgin. I'm afraid you overheard a bit more than you should have. And he pulls out a vibrator that shoots the guy out of a window. The hell did you do that for? Look, there's cartoonish villainy, and then there's just stupid villainy. He heard more than he should have? He didn't hear crap! He heard some random kid claim his father was murdered. There isn't any proof of anything and no connection to you. And now you've got a dead body that's been flung out your window with a weapon you own! Now, I'm sure someone will say, well, Alchemax controls the police, as we saw in Punisher 2099. Except if that's the case, why the hell do they even bother hiding the illegal activities? Oh, and now he's going to plot to take down Ravage because he is apparently getting too close, even though, again, they have nothing! Absolutely nothing! Ravage doesn't know anything, and you placated him already! Hell, you could just tell him a week later that your investigation turned up nothing, and there isn't anything to worry about! The guy's dumb enough as it is, he'd have bought it! How the hell did you get so high up in your evil company if you're this stupid? Ugh. Anyway, apparently Tiana is everybody's secretary, since Henton tells her to open up a conference call with the other Alchemax executives. Tiana decides to listen in, thinking it probably has to do with Ravage's visit. Henton tells the executives about the visit and how they should get rid of him. You are right, Henton. There's nothing more dangerous than an honest man who becomes suspicious. Then why the hell did you put him in charge of your stupid-ass subsidiary? Just get some toady who will do whatever you want. Nothing about any of this makes any damn sense. But we must act cautiously. As head of Eco, he's in the public's eye. What public's eye? We've seen that in the future, the corporations run the government and run the police, so I have to assume they run the news too. And if rival companies own the news, well, they're probably telling the news outlets to run negative stories about them anyway. Why not? We've already seen that these companies in the previous 2099 books are complete assholes and don't give a rat's ass about the legality of anything, so having direct control over the news like this, probably flat out lying about the competition, is most likely common and accepted. Anyway, Tiana realizes that Henton is the traitor and that they're going to discredit Ravage before killing him. They summon a Mutroid to come to the mainland from that previously mentioned Hell Rock, and he quickly arrives in the city. Meanwhile, Ravage tries to convince Dak that Alchemax totally isn't evil or anything, but he's not buying it. Ravage goes back to his office, and Tiana tells him about what she overheard. Anderthorpe Henton, he's given the order to have you eliminated! Impossible! I just spoke to him! Everything's fine! This is nonsense, Tiana! Maybe if you had attacked me first, I'd believe you, but this is just silly. While the Mutroid stomps away towards the building, Ravage continues to be an idiot. I appreciate your concern, Tiana, but you've been working too hard. Take the next 2 days off. Get some rest. Your womanly parts are obviously interfering with your logic centers. Stop being a woman and trust Alchemax. Like me, I'm smart. The Mutroid arrives and blasts his way in, Ravage summoning security to his office.
Do not fear me. We are allies. I bring you your payment for betraying Alchemax and for secretly helping us, the legions of Hellrock, to pollute the world. And I am totally speaking the truth, which is why this deal is happening loudly after I trudged through the city in plain sight and laid out the entire deal for everyone to hear. This isn't contrived at all.
You're mad! I'd die before I renounce my oath or help a murderous Mutroid.
Do not lie. You have already helped us. Take your reward. You have earned it.
Who sent you? What does this mean? Me Ravage, me smart but confused. Security comes in, having overheard what the Mutroid said, and of course they instantly believe the hideous evil mutant creature, even though none of this makes any plausible sense. Security doesn't believe Ravage and they start shooting at him, scarring his face, I guess, I can't tell. Don't anger them, they'll kill you. You were right! I should have listened! I was blind! They set me up! Oh man, I need to get out of here so I can warn Alchemax about Henton! After all, they're still trustworthy! Dude throws a chair at the security and then tackles them. It's easy to hit someone who's standing still. How come your shots are wild now? I don't know! The penciler keeps drawing us like this! He manages to fight off the guards, all the while exchanging dialogue. Though that seems to just be a general trope of superhero comics, fitting in an entire soliloquy before you land a single punch. Henton is apparently watching all this on security cameras while receiving a massage. A little something for the ladies, no doubt. And he comments on how Ravage is a perfect fighting machine. Well, no need to observe the futile charade any longer. In another minute, it will be ended.
I'm going to leave them alone and not actually witness them dying. I'm just going to assume it all went to plan. What?
Since he survived the attack by the guards, the Mutroid steps in to kill him, but Ravage does the next rational thing. Leap out of a tall window with Tiana in his arms.
There is logic in what he says.
However, it seems this was for the best, since Henton apparently had a bomb in his friggin' office that he could just detonate with the press of a button. Dude, you threw a guy out the window earlier today without consequence. Why was blowing Ravage up and pretending that nothing happened not an option? Anyway, he has a tape of the Mutroid offering payment for help, and thus no one will care if he dies. His masseuse compliments him. You're the cleverest man I've ever known. All two of them. Henton charges up his vibrator of death. Ah yes, I'm clever enough to trust no one who may later betray me, no matter how lovely she may be. Well then why not just kill everybody on Earth while you're at it? Fortunately for Ravage, he survived by grabbing a ledge. He refuses to call for help since they need to pretend that they were killed in the explosion. They swing into a window and meet up with Dak, handing over his credit card that I guess isn't traceable in the future, and Ravage says that it'll be enough money for the two to live on, especially since they need to think that Tiana is dead too. I should have listened to you, kid, but I was too smug. Smug, stupid, potato, potato. He tells them not to leave and that he'll be back. Paul Philippe, he's dead. Ain't no one here but Ravage, and they're gonna tremble when they hear that name. They'll more likely tremble because your speech style has changed. I'm tempted to give you a stereotypical Brooklyn accent now. Ravage breaks into a junkyard and knocks out the guards, putting together his uniform. Yes, he literally makes that outfit we saw on the cover out of junkyard parts. To be fair, I actually do like this suiting up montage, but then again, I just like suiting up montages. He even has a little Chevrolet hubcap as a buckler shield. What's even better? Those gears I talked about earlier? Check it out. He's literally just sticking them on the armor. It is just for aesthetic value. I used to think violence was the last resort of a savage. I still do, but when the world's a jungle, the savages take over. Or the guys with bigger guns. And take a look at this outfit in all its ridiculous glory.
There, sure glad I don't look stupid in this.
But now he's gonna need a way to move around with all that heavy scrap on him. That garbage truck must have been here since the turn of the century. It's old and rusting, but look at the size of her, the power. Sure, the entire transmission's gonna blow out of her, and the brakes don't work, and the suspension is rusted to the point where it'll fall to pieces when I start her. But look at the power! She's solid steel, bigger and stronger than the plastic junk they make today. Ravage's hobby is old G1 Transformers. He can't stand anything made after the die-cast era. And for some reason, the truck is still functional and has a full tank of gas. Naturally, Ravage can hotwire it, because shut up, and he breaks it out of the junkyard. Oh yeah, just look at that thing. You're completely inconspicuous, Ravage. Good job. All right, I got my wheels and I'm loaded for bear. They may have beaten Paul Philippe, but now they'll answer to Ravage! And so our comic ends on Hell Rock, where there also happens to be a castle. Its owner? Deathstrike. Yes, Deathstrike without an A and a Y instead of an I.
Because poor literacy is cool.
And of course, Deathstrike has his own fortune-telling lady, just like Dr. Doom, who tells him that Ravage is destined to be his greatest foe. Speaking of, dude looks like a Dr. Doom ripoff, but with a silly white wig attached to his helmet. Hell, it even looks like he has an armored mustache. This comic sucks! Big time! The dialogue is stilted and unnatural, Ravage is an idiot, the villain is an idiot, Ravage's outfit is ridiculous, the pollution thing is stupid and ill-defined about what exactly the polluters are doing, and it's just a big, incoherent mess. And so ends 2099 month. With a horrible comic that wasn't indicative of the real strengths of 2099. Reimagining old characters in new and interesting ways.
Whoa. Dude, I can feel it. I'm going back to my own time.
Then farewell, stranger. Say hi to Linkara 2099 for me.
Will do! Kleenex out! Dude! I just got back from the future!
Were you able to get some lotto numbers?
Yeah, but unfortunately I copied them over to a USB drive that only works if you've got a floppy disk drive too.
Well, good try anyway.
Oh, but I did bring back this! It's supposed to be important for you or something.
Huh. Doesn't look like it makes any sense. I'll figure it out later. Anything else?
Not much. Future's awesome, by the way. Lots of guns, lots of mullets. Everything is as it should be. Oh, I got a peek at your future too. I love your new coat.
What new coat?
You'll see. Also, that bit you do with the Nostalgia Critic where you try to sing is hilarious. Oh, I got a peek at your new t-shirt designs too. Love them!
Anything important to tell me aside from that?
Oh, right, yeah. The most important thing that you need to know is...
I'm sitting on my couch reviewing comics, the worst birds that you will ever see. It's sad that comic books are for geeks, but they're not. They're for everybody. If you doubt that I am a man, I am a man.
And that's how Dr. Insano gets his groove back.
Wow, who knew that he rivaled Christopher Walken 2099 with his dancing skills?